Welcome to the BettingPros PGA Podcast. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice, joined by Bo McBrayer. It's U.S. Open week. We're going to give you a full betting preview of the tournament, and we have a lot to talk about since this year's U.S. Open is going to be played at Pinehurst No. 2, which is certainly not your typical U.S. Open venue. In a minute, we'll do a quick recap of Scottie Scheffler's win at the Memorial, and then we will get into the U.S. Open. And at the end of the show, we'll give you our one-and-done picks. The Betting Pros PGA Podcast is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the place to go for best ball fantasy football contests, but you might not have known that Underdog has golf contests too. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find Underdog in the App Store, and don't forget to register with the promo code BPGolf to claim your special pick and to get a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. More on Underdog and its fantasy golf contest a little later. Scottie Scheffler wins again, Bo. Scheffler held off Collin MoriKawa at the Memorial for his fifth win of 2024. He's now won the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the Players' Championship, the Masters, the RBC Heritage, and the Memorial. That is quite the impressive list of tournament wins. And now Scottie will try to win his second major of the year at Pinehurst. There should be no questions about Scheffler's ability to navigate a tough course after his win at the Memorial. Muirfield Village was just extremely difficult on the field this year. Only 11 players finished under par for the tournament, and only 4 players finished better than -2. Scheffler took a 4-shot lead into the final round. He shot 2 over par 74 on Sunday, which sounds like a bad day until you consider that only 2 players broke 70 on Sunday. The greens were firm and fast. The rough was nasty. Credit to Collin MoriKawa for putting the heat on Scheffler and giving him a battle on Sunday. MoriKawa shot 71 on the final day, a great score considering how tough Muirfield Village was playing. MoriKawa came to the 72nd hole down 1, and Scheffler overcooked his approach shot on number 18, found the deep rough behind the green. Looked like MoriKawa had an opening, but then MoriKawa overcooked his approach shot from a fairway bunker, also wound up in the rough. Both players had nice chips, and Scottie rolled in a 5-foot par putt to seal the deal. Bo, your thoughts on Scottie's win at the Memorial?
I mean, just look at what has happened since he switched to the mallet putter. We can thank Rory McIlroy for recommending his TaylorMade cohort switch to the Spider mallet, because since then he's gained strokes in every single tournament putting. And when Scottie Scheffler gains strokes on the greens, the field has no chance. And that's really what's happening here. Is we have a preeminent dominant ball striker from tee to green. He did come into the Memorial kind of struggling off the tee with accuracy, which I thought would hurt him. He found his way. He was straight off the tee. His approach game was immaculate as always, and he was rolling in putts. And there weren't any really weaknesses to show from Scottie Scheffler. The golf course was tough on everyone. Scottie Scheffler made note of that. He said, "Hey, it's tough. I'm not playing my best, but it was good enough." And Collin MoriKawa, who was one of my favorites last week, just didn't quite have enough. A lot of birdie putts fell for him, but a lot of birdie putts burned the edge. Very, very close. If you think Muirfield Village is tough, Pinehurst No. 2 this week is even tougher. That's what's going to be fun. Is we're going to get 2 weeks in a row of absolute carnage in 2 completely different ways. Muirfield Village off the tee, the demands are there, but for me, the Pinehurst challenge is a completely different one, and it's going to be so much fun to watch these great, amazing golfers from both tours struggle. I want to see some real struggle in normal conditions. The course is just that tough.
I think you're going to get your wish, Bo, and we will move on to the U.S. Open in just a moment. But first, our friends at Underdog Fantasy are letting you make picks on your favorite golfers all season long. Just pick higher or lower on selected stats for 2 to 5 golfers, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single day. You can also make rivals picks, choosing, for instance, which of 2 golfers will shoot a better score in a round. Golf picks can be combined with player stats from other sports too. Go sign up at Underdog Fantasy with the promo code BPGolf to claim your special pick and to get a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. When we were talking about Muirfield Village on last week's show, Bo, I mentioned that it was a good U.S. Open tune-up because of its long, snarly rough. Well, I had completely forgotten that the U.S. Open was going to be played at Pinehurst No. 2, which is by no means a typical U.S. Open course. So Pinehurst No. 2 is a Donald Ross design in the Sand Hills of North Carolina. Pinehurst will play as a 7,548-yard par 70. Rather than thick U.S. Open style rough, a lot of the misstruck shots at Pinehurst are going to find sandy wiregrass areas, and those areas are about as fun as they sound. There's a chance you'll get a clean shot. There's a chance you'll have an unplayable or nearly unplayable shot. Pinehurst also has 117 bunkers, so you're going to see a lot of sand this week.
Is that all?
The fairways at Pinehurst actually pretty wide. Another way this differs dramatically from a U.S. Open venue or a normal U.S. Open venue. The course is known for its turtleback greens, which are often crowned and make it hard to hit approach shots close to the hole. Pinehurst is going to play firm and fast, although the greens might not run quite as fast on the stimp meter as they would in a normal U.S. Open, simply because if they cut these greens too short, like it's impossible to hold them at all with the way they're crowned. The greens are ultra dwarf Bermuda greens, which tend to stay very firm. One way that Pinehurst No. 2 does resemble a typical U.S. Open course: length. 3 of the par 4s are longer than 500 yards. 6 of the par 4s are longer than 480 yards. Seems like another week, Bo, where long iron shots on the approach are going to be important. And players are really going to need to take advantage of the 2 par 5s because scoring opportunities are few and far between at Pinehurst No. 2. This is the first U.S. Open at Pinehurst in 10 years. Last time around, Martin Keimer won in 2014. The German just put on a masterful display of golf that week. He won by 8 shots, finishing 9 under par, the only other players to finish under par for the week. Co-runners-up Ricky Fowler and Eric Compton, both -1. And it was indeed carnage that week, Bo. Let's see. Michael Campbell was a long shot winner at Pinehurst in the 2005 U.S. Open over Tiger Woods, and Payne Stewart famously won the 1999 U.S. Open at Pinehurst by 1 shot over Phil Mickelson just a few months before Stewart died in a tragic plane crash. Temperatures this week are expected to be in the low 90s. There's no significant rain in the forecast, and luckily for the players, winds are expected to be light in the 5 to 10 mile an hour range throughout the tournament. What is it going to take to win at Pinehurst No. 2, Bo?
An immaculate short game, as well as a very, very solid approach game. The off the tee challenges are mainly, you want to be long here, but it's more important just be in position. The fairways are wide, and there is hardly any rough at all. But you mentioned the sand traps, which are filled with wiregrass, and just outside the sand traps, and also in the sand traps, there are gorse bushes on top of the wiregrass. So yes, and the reason why they do that is because, yes, the fairways are wide, but if you miss them, or if you hit the ball with the wrong club off the tee, you can very easily roll through the fairway on the dogleg holes and find yourself in a really probably worse than rough in these sand traps, which are kind of just native grown out sand bunker areas with grass and gorse bushes everywhere. And so, yeah, being in position off the tee is very important here. And then obviously on approach, it's going to be almost impossible still. You said the greens won't be as firm. It's still going to be U.S. Open. I heard Wyndham Clark already say that they were borderline unplayable because they're just not watering them. That's all that matters, is if they water the greens, they'll be playable. I don't think the USGA is going to give these greens very much moisture during the week because they want it to be a true test. And you're going to see all of these guys miss a lot of greens. And again, around the greens, a lot of bunkering and almost no rough. So you're going to see those turtleback runoffs into very, very tight mown areas that are well below the green surface. You have all these turtleback runoffs with fast greens. You have to be immaculate in the short game to win here. Absolutely immaculate. Martin Keimer famously did not hit a single wedge around the greens. He used a putter for everything and did it to great effect because his chipping was pretty off. He was having a struggle with his short game, so he decided Texas wedge all the way around, and he obviously won by 8 shots. And that might be the key, is which guy has the best touch around the greens, which guy can avoid the big number when he inevitably misses the green from the distances and the lies that you're going to see around this course. I don't expect the winning score this week to be under par, honestly.
Wow. Yeah, it's entirely possible we could see the entire field over par this week.
Or winning score, I think, even.
Yeah. I mean, like, had Keimer not had the week that he had in 2014, next best score is 1 under. So, yeah, and you mentioned it, the creativity it's going to take with some of these short game shots. The Texas wedge is very much in play, as it was for Martin Keimer in 2014. And you're gonna see that sort of creative shot making required of the players all week. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
92 in North Carolina, that's going to be humid. Oof.
Yeah, I would expect so. It's going to be a long day for these guys throughout the tournament. We'll get to the odds in just a moment. But first, if you want a chance to win a free 1-year premium Betting Pro subscription, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below in this video, and that's it. We'll be announcing a winner right here on the channel. So turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Let's take a look at these opening odds, Bo. These are all courtesy of DraftKings as of Monday afternoon. Scottie Scheffler, of course, the overwhelming favorite at plus 300. And who's to argue with such short odds for the best player in the world? Xander Schaufele and Rory McIlroy at plus 1,100. Collin MoriKawa plus 1,400. Bryson DeChambeau plus 1,800. Victor Hovland and Brooks Koepka plus 2,000. Ludwig Åberg is plus 2,200. John Rahm plus 2,800. Tommy Fleetwood plus 3,500. And at plus 4,000 are Matt Fitzpatrick, Justin Thomas, Hideki Matsuyama, and Cameron Smith. Who do you like from this group, Bo? And of course, I have to ask you how you feel about Scottie at plus 300.
Pretty good, actually. I mean, if you consider what Scottie's strengths are, obviously on approach, that goes without saying. And I'm not worried about his errant tee shots. I mean, he just proved at Memorial where it was paramount to find the fairway. He can find fairways when he needs to. His approach game's unparalleled. It's not even close. He's number 4 in bogey avoidance. He's actually number 1 in bogey avoidance. Number 6 around the greens. That's what it's going to take here. And Scottie Scheffler 3-1 odds. At this point, just eat it. You're going to have to invest more to make it worth your bet. So whatever you're planning on betting this week as a whole, make a good portion of it Scottie Scheffler, because chances are he's going to win this one too. And it's just not worth betting against him with the way he's playing. And of course, this difficult. I don't see anybody else with the full bag that appeals to me the same way. So I'd rather pick a winner than hope that somebody from deeper rises to the occasion, when a lot of these guys look good right now, but they're not looking Scottie Scheffler good, and it's understandable. There's a little bit of a nick in everybody's armor here besides Scottie Scheffler. This guy's playing flawless golf. He wasn't even at his best last week and still won. It would still shock me to see anybody beat him right now at this point.
Yeah, and maybe it would take something like the sort of year we saw from Michael Campbell in 2005, where he toppled Tiger Woods. And it was just, I mean, Campbell was probably one of the most unlikely major winners of this young century. But, he just had a good week, and he beat the king. I mean, Scottie's precision ball striking and that high ball flight are going to serve him so well on this course.
Oh, and even if he misses the greens, his short game's so good that that's the underappreciated part of Scottie's game, is when he doesn't hit that perfect iron shot, he's still fine. Just because he's not putting for birdie doesn't mean he's also still not just tapping in for par, and that does more than well around this golf course. Tap ins for par are the same as birdies at Pinehurst number 2.
He's a cyborg, Bo. Good luck trying to figure
Yeah.
out how to kill the Terminator.
Pretty much.
So, what about some of these other guys? I mean, Schaufele has been incredible this
Mhm.
year. Won the PGA Championship last month. Finished a respectable 8th at the Memorial. Really good season for him so far, especially of late. McIlroy, he also has that high ball flight, and he's been in really good form the last 2 months. But then again, he hasn't won a major in 10 years and finished 23rd at Pinehurst back in 2014. Can you get behind either of those guys at their 11-1 prices?
Not really, not at that number. Those numbers are pretty short. Those are what I would expect a favorite to be if Scottie wasn't in this field, but Scottie is in this field, so we're getting a little bit shafted on those two numbers. Plus 1100 for either one of those guys is just not good enough. I need to see it 15 or higher, especially with the strength of this field. This is the best field in championship golf, period. Top to bottom, it's a bunch of qualifiers. It's a bunch of top golfers. Adam Scott's still not even barely in this field, and that tells you what it takes to make it into a U.S. Open, let alone compete in one. I'm looking at those two guys. I like them. I just don't love them at their number. Rory on approach has been awful compared to the other top guys in this field, and then Xander's short game, his chipping has not been as good as it usually is. And as much as I like those two guys, I like guys like Bryson DeChambeau a little bit more. Bryson DeChambeau's short game on longer courses is really good. And he's going to get there off the tee. He's got a really good approach game going right now. And he's got that tough golf course mentality where we just saw it. We just saw it at the PGA where Bryson's got the firepower to stack up against any field at any golf course. I just like his numbers so much more. And at the top of this board, you have Scottie, and you have a lot of inflated numbers. Bryson's the only value right here at 25 or better.
Yeah, he so far in the majors, tied for 6th at the Masters, finished 2nd at the PGA. He is starting to turn into, ironically, another Brooks Koepka, his old rival, who just gets geared up for the majors and shows up. It's just a matter of whether DeChambeau is going to putt well enough to contend this week. What about MoriKawa, who traded haymakers with Scheffler at Muirfield Village last weekend? One of the best ball strikers in the world. Does he putt well enough that he could win at Pinehurst?
No, and other than last week, his short game still hasn't been there. Relatively speaking, this is not the type of golf course where I expect to see Collin MoriKawa excel. He's a great golfer. He's got 4 top 5s in the last 6 weeks. He's back. This is not his golf course. This is a golf course that's going to eat a lot of these guys alive, especially when you have to be creative around the greens. You have to have touch around the greens. Collin did a lot of that last week, which was encouraging. But again, 14-1 for a guy that I haven't seen win in a few years. That's not good enough. And this isn't like Xander winning at the PGA, where the conditions were a lot softer than usual. That there was a reason why Collin and Xander were there, is because they were able to go out and make birdies. Those birdies aren't on this golf course in these conditions. And so in these tougher conditions, I'm looking for the grinder. I'm looking for the guys that really have that short game locked in. I'm looking at guys like Tommy Fleetwood, 35-1. I'm looking at Matt Fitzpatrick, 40-1. Justin Thomas even at 40-1. If you can figure out the rest of his game, those are guys at greater values that I can see doing just fine around this golf course, because they're not going to be daunted by that delicate chip off hard pan up a crest of a hill onto a really fast Bermuda green where the grain's running away from them. Those guys aren't going to be shaken by that shot that's going to be present just about on half the holes. You're going to miss a green and have to put the ball close enough to have a makeable par putt. That's how tough this golf course is. So I'm steering clear of anybody who struggles with chipping at any point in the last 2 years, honestly.
And that's sort of the reason I'm not interested at all in Victor Hovland this week, Bo. I mean, we know
Correct.
earlier in his career, chipping was a major problem for his. He seemingly fixed it, but boy, did he have some tough moments around the green at Muirfield Village. And I know some of those were shots out of thick rough, which he's not going to find. But he's going to have some other chipping challenges at
It's
at
the
Pinehurst.
confidence, it's the touch. Even though it's better, it's still the weak spot in his game.
For sure. I do have to ask you about two live guys who sort of intrigue me. Brooks Koepka always seems to bring the A game to tough courses, and 20-1 odds. Is there value there?
There's some. As far as grinders go, I can't think of a better grinder on a tough golf course than the 2-time U.S. Open champion. Unfortunately, his short game's been so bad this year. So bad. It's atrocious. His chipping and putting has been ungodly bad. And he was the type of guy where back a couple of years ago, he was like Scottie. From tee to green, he was so good that he could get by with flat short game against the field. He didn't have to gain strokes chipping or putting because he was so close to the pin on approach. He was so automatic off the tee with length. This is the type of golf course that's going to put his flaws this season, anything that he's been battling, it's going to put it at the forefront. And the way his form has been going this year, even when he won in Singapore, he putted terribly. He just made enough to win that tournament. I don't see it happening this week. 20-1's a great price for a guy of his caliber, but this year has been a little bit different for Brooks. I'm not as confident in him after watching him in the first two majors. It doesn't feel quite the same because he hasn't played well.
Now, one guy whose short game we're certainly not going to question, Cameron Smith.
Yes.
Great short game, and maybe his somewhat erratic driving hurts him less at Pinehurst than it would on a typical U.S. Open course. So how are you feeling about him at his price? And what did I say? Cameron Smith, is he
40-1?
40-1?
Yeah. Outstanding price, probably the best value on this entire board. This guy is a major killer. He's an Open champion. This guy has the best short game in the world, period. Like, there's nobody with a better short game than Cam Smith. And off the tee, he's been better this year. He's kind of the opposite of Scottie, where if he can find a fairway and be in position off the tee, he can win any golf tournament anywhere, anytime. And his short game, his chipping, his putting, it's immaculate. It's art. And so 40-1 for a guy of that caliber that's kind of laying in the weeds. Nobody's talking about him. He's on the live tour, doing just fine on the live tour. That's the number I'm looking for. That's a super soft line on a major winner at a golf course that fits him like a glove. So yes, Cameron Smith is a spectacular bet at 40-1.
Yes. Glad to hear you say it. Let's dig into some of the mid-range options, Bo. Patrick Cantlay and Max Homa are plus 5,000. Tyrrell Hatton and Sahith Theegala are both plus 5,500. At plus 6,000, we've got Tony Finau, Tom Kim, and Shane Lowry. At plus 6,500, Sam Burns, Minwoo Lee, and Jordan Spieth. Wyndham Clark and Sepp Straka are both plus 7,000. Sung J M, Keegan Bradley, and Corey Connors plus 7,500. And at plus 8,000, we have a big group that includes some pretty big names: Russell Henley, Dustin Johnson, Cameron Young, Will Zalatoris, Robert McIntyre, and Ben On. Does anyone from this group tickle your fancy, Bo?
Quite a few, yeah. Tyrrell Hatton, 55-1. Sahith Theegala,
Really?
55-1. Those two guys, again, short game prowess. I don't have any qualms about playing guys with stellar short games. Tyrrell Hatton, great short game. Sahith Theegala, one of the hottest short games out there. And his off the tee game, not as bad as it has been lately. It's not going to hurt him too bad to be a little bit off the tee. His short game's so good. He's scoring really well. But Hatton is a good one. And then going down to even Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth and Wyndham Clark both have outstanding short games, great recovery skills. Wyndham Clark's more of a good putter than a good chipper, but Jordan Spieth, we've seen this guy pull the Houdini act so many times. And another guy where he's not great off the tee and his approach game is okay. But man, you get this guy into where I just need to make par and salvage a situation. I mean, who better than Jordan Spieth? And that number is insulting to him. Guys like Im and Straka. Im I like better because his short game's good. Sepp Straka's short game's atrocious. So as good as he is, accurate as he is from tee to green, he's going to find himself in just as many precarious spots around the greens where you have to count on it. And I can't count on Sepp Straka in a golf course like this. Corey Connors, same thing. Corey Connors, great from tee to green. One of the worst short games on tour in the world at that level. So yeah, those are guys that I'm skipping. And Russell Henley, good short game. I like certain guys in this area, but not enough to bet them. That's just kind of where I'm at. Is there's so many good guys here, but again, we're getting into the deep waters here where the farther we get away from the sunlight that is Scottie Scheffler, the harder it is to put money on them.
Yeah, Henley's interesting. He has been a Bermuda specialist.
He was born in Bermuda.
I don't have him on my card yet, but at those odds,
it's tempting.
Yeah, I don't know about outright, but maybe top 10 or
for
top
sure.
5. Spieth, yeah, he's shown so few signs of life lately. That's my concern with him.
Mm-hmm.
But like you're right, this is the sort of venue where he could shine.
I think it's baked in. It's baked in that he hasn't been playing up to his caliber to this date, but I feel good about it.
Patrick Cantlay, unusually long odds for him, but recent form, very poor. I mean, he was a complete non-factor at the Memorial, missed the cut in an elevated event where not many guys missed the cut. So pretty much out of consideration with his recent form, I would imagine. Keegan Bradley's kind of interesting, Bo. Mm-hmm. He finished 4th here way back in 2014, and he's played some pretty good golf this year. Any interest?
Yeah. I'll take some shots at him. Maybe more top 10, top 20 type bets, but he's the type of guy who grinds it out just well. He's got a good short game. He's got great long iron approach game. That's his off the tee game is pretty shaky and his putting is shaky, but his second and third shot golf course, you got a second and third shot golfer. So Keegan is intriguing. I'll have to take a little deeper dive to see what his ancillary stats are looking like recently. That's what's going to kind of hinge on what I wager on him, and if any.
Yeah, I'm not ready to get back on the Robert McIntyre train, Bo. I have a feeling
no,
he's not going to do quite as well here.
If this course was 7,200 yards instead of 7,500, then we're talking. But yeah, it's not a Bobby Mack type course, and his dad's not in the bag anymore, so it's just different.
That's right. Are there any long shots you like this week? Anyone with odds 85 to 1 or longer?
This is where I'm going to be throwing some really fun darts that, again, short game prowess. I'm looking at Christian Bezuidenhout, 110 to 1, outstanding short game, great accurate player, doesn't beat himself. Denny McCarthy at 131 is an absolute insult. That guy's playing great golf this year. His short game's among the top 10 in the world, chipping in, putting. So give me Denny, tough golf courses. The guy's been showing up the last 2 years, really. And I'm going to go all the way down. Kurt Kitayama, 180 to 1. Really good. Underrated short game. Great long iron player. And again, not as penalized for wayward tee shots here at Pinehurst. I think he's the type of grinder who can make a lot of pars. And I'm going back to the well. Akshay Bhatia impressed me last week. His short game is really good. And we're going to see what these guys are made of. I just think that's a mispriced on Akshay at 180 to 1.
Yeah, Bezuidenhout is interesting. You might be encouraging me to get him on the card. A lot of talent and was really sharp at the Memorial. Finished tied for 4th. Siwoo Kim is kind of intriguing. I mean, he's finished top 20 in 4 of his last 6 in pretty good form. Nice all-around game except for the Achilles heel, his putter. And that's what concerns me. I just don't know if we're going to get 4 decent putting rounds out of him to
his approach game hasn't been great from the distances that we're looking at here either.
Let me hit you with a couple 130 to 1 possibilities, Bo. Okay. Billy Horschel just generally plays the tough courses well. And like he seems like he favors Bermuda grass. Bermuda Green. So I'm mildly intrigued there. And Brian Harman hits it straight, putts it well. Seems like a good combo for Pinehurst. No?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's okay. I get it, but it's just like as soon as you filter for courses over 7,400 yards, he goes from top 10 to off the board completely. It's just short courses. Absolutely, this guy's a grinder. He's great at keeping things in front of him, making tough putts. A short game, not that great, honestly. I mean, his putting's good, but his chipping is bad, and that's one thing that I'm looking at with him is kind of just a little tiebreaker. Is when things get tough and long, we see certain guys rise and we see certain guys fall. Brian Harman is a faller on these types of golf courses. I'll give you a deep one. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
I'm gonna give you the Todd father, 400 to 1, Brendan Todd.
Brendan Todd. Interesting. 400 to 1.
Yep. And then 800 to 1, Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett, watch out for that guy.
Interesting. Brendan Todd and Sam Bennett. And oh, by the way, lurking at 300 to 1, Bo, I found this sort of interesting. Martin Keimer, who put on the absolute clinic in 2014 and won by 8 shots, but of course
hasn't won since.
has not been much of a factor in the golf world of late. All right, Bo, what do you have on your betting card as of now?
I have a big bet on Scottie Scheffler. I have some on Bryson DeChambeau. I have a little bit on Tyrrell Hatton and Tommy Fleetwood. And I'm going to take stabs at Brendan Todd, Kurt Kitayama, Akshay Bhatia, the whole there's going to be fluid. There's a couple guys that I'm looking at here to dive in deeper on the really deep shot side, because like you said with the Michael Campbell thing, is you just never know. This is the type of US Open where whoever gets hot could win this thing. And Scottie Scheffler, maybe he's there. I expect him to be there in the hunt all week long. But maybe he doesn't win this thing, and maybe somebody comes out of the woodworks to surprise. There's a lot of good names in this field that go from the very top to the very bottom. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we had some surprises.
Yeah, not at all. So I just can't bring myself to bet Scottie at such short odds, and I think that's something I have to get over because it's costing me money, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, last week I was rooting for Collin, and then when I knew Collin wasn't going to have enough, you just tip your cap to Scottie and say, my God, he's just so impressive. That, like you said, he's a cyborg. He's automatic. He's middle of the fairway, middle of the green, and 2-putt. And sometimes those first putts go in. He just gives himself so many chances to score and gain strokes on the field. He just gives himself so many chances that he doesn't have to be perfect. And that's something that nobody else in this field can say.
That's right. And it's hard to see him, like he's not going to blow up. We saw the closest he was ever going to have to a blow up round this year when he shot 74 at a ridiculously hard Muirfield Village course on Sunday. Like that's a blow up round for Scottie.
On Saturday when he carded a 7 on the 9th hole, and it was like, okay, that sucked. Let's move on.
Comes right back with a birdie, I think, on the 8th. And I mean, he's just
good. He's just so good.
So right now I've got Brooks Koepka, although you did your best to talk me out of that. The guy's just such a grinder. Like I've got to take him at 20 to 1. But I was thinking about doing a top 5 with him. I don't think I'm going to go there. Cameron Smith, I'm all over him at 40 to 1 and plus 800 for a top 5. Love him this week.
He's on my card too.
Good. The way you talked about him, I was surprised to hear you omit his name. I'm betting Keegan at 75 to 1. I'm betting Billy Horschel at 130 to 1, making a very small bet. You've talked me.
Oh, Billy.
You've talked me out of Brian Harman. Congratulations on that. But I am going to add Christian Bezuidenhout a little something there on an outright. Now, before we get to our one and done picks, if you're playing in a one and done golf pool, or if you're playing in any sort of tiers-based majors pool this year, our friends at Pool Genius have a new product that gives you an edge. Using objective data like betting odds, course performance, and optimal pick trends, the tool highlights the top value picks that give you an edge, and it can all be customized specifically for your pool. If you're doing a one and done pool or majors pool, let Pool Genius be your secret weapon. And by the way, Pool Genius isn't just for golf pools. You can use it for March Madness pools, NFL Survivor pools, and more. For 10% off on the majors tool and for up to 55% off on yearly packages that include all golf, football, and March Madness tools, visit poolgenius.com/fantasypros. Again, that's poolgenius.com/fantasypros. Now for the one and done picks. Bo and I both burned a big gun last week at the Memorial. He took Rory McIlroy. I took Victor Hovland, and they finished in a 15th place tie, each earning $329,000. McIlroy and Hovland, both pretty tough weekends, if we're being honest about it, Bo.
Mm-hmm.
Rory was 3 under after 2 rounds, then shot a 73 on Saturday and stumbled home with a 76 on Sunday. Hovland was 6 under par going into the weekend and was sniffing the lead after going 1 under on the front 9 on Saturday. And then, oh boy, he blew a tire, shot a 42 on the backside on Saturday, wound up shooting a 77. Didn't fare much better on Sunday either with a 75. So no blood for us at the Memorial. I remain up about $800,000. And I am up first this week. Big purse here at the U.S. Open, of course. Taking live golfers makes a lot of sense in the majors since there are no opportunities to use the top live guys in non-majors, obviously. So I'm going to take Cameron Smith. We both expressed confidence in him. The short game is impeccable. He can pull out creative shots when he needs to. I'm feeling pretty good about him. Who are you taking, Bo?
Well, that was going to be my pick until I saw that you were going first and that you were going to take him. So I'm going to take the other live guy that's at the top of my board, Bryson DeChambeau.
Bryson. I like it. I mean, it's hard to argue with the way that guy has brought it to the majors so far. And I
still have a couple big guns at the top of the PGA Tour that I want to use in the next week or two. And I was tempted to use them here. But the live thing is important because we only have one more chance after this with the Open Championship. I want to get Bryson here where he lines up best. And there's a couple other ones that I'm going to be queuing up for the Open Championship.
Yeah, I've burned through a lot of big names. I'm going to have to start keeping my powder dry. I do not want to run out of ammunition come the FedEx playoffs. So... well, that's going to do it for this week's show. My thanks to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Sign up for Underdog with the promo code BPGolf to claim your special pick and to get a first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. And please come join Bo and I again next week when we will be previewing the Travelers Championship. Good luck to all of you with your U.S. Open bets. We'll see you next week.